Hi, everybody. It's Angie with Flip Flop Your Life, and this is my 9th episode. And today I have Cristen Walker with me, and she is a friend, a coach, and a mentor. And yes, she's a coach at CrossFit, and I say it like that because I've done 9 interviews, and probably more than half of them have been with people that I've met through CrossFit in the community.
Right.
And people don't really understand that there are so many different people that are in our community.
Absolutely.
And everybody is pretty like-minded.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it takes a person to flip-flop, to go into a CrossFit gym. And we'll get into all that too. Yeah. But, and I think I've known of you for 4 years. Has it been 4 years, Blake? I think. Was it 4 years ago that you had a competition?
Oh, when I was Blake's judge.
Yes.
I remember that. Itty bitty Blake.
Yep.
Yep.
We had just started CrossFit at CrossFit Newark, and Blake had been going for a while, and he came to a competition with you at Granville.
At Always Forward.
Yep. And you were his judge.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Pat after that, oh my gosh, that was so awesome. And you were so good with them. Not that they needed coached, but because they were athletes already.
Right.
From sports and stuff through high school. But you were, I don't know, just helpful. Very helpful.
They were young,
and attentive.
right? And they needed, like, in my opinion, like, we need to make sure we watch them a little closer, right? Mm-hmm. And guide them a little bit more and make sure they're making smart choices even when they get in that realm of being competitive. So.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was really fun having, being a part of that. So.
And then what now? It's been a year, I think almost a year and a half that I've been at Torsion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's about right. Because you came over, like, in the summertime.
Yeah.
I feel like,
August.
Wasn't it?
It was August. So, yeah. So then I've gotten to know you more as a coach.
Yeah.
And one of the owners there. Yes. So it's been wonderful. But the reason, and I guess that kind of segues into why I asked you, because to be on here, is there are things that I know, some things that I know that you've been through, that you've overcome, and that I think a lot of people, whether they're in CrossFit or not, I mean, a lot of people listening to this, maybe friends and family, will be like, oh my God, not another CrossFit person. But there are a lot of things that you've been through injury-wise that I think, and just life in general and health and family, that a lot of people can relate to that aren't in CrossFit, but maybe are just off an injury and wanting to get better and get healthy. So I think you can relate to a lot of people, so that'll be some of the stuff that we'll get into. Sure. So if people are listening, stay tuned, because it's a lot of great stuff. So first off, tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm a pharmacist by day. I have been married for 16 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We got married when we were babies. So I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. I've lived in the Columbus area my whole life. I actually grew up in Pickerington. And then I went to Virginia Tech for my undergrad degree, which is where I met my husband, kind of brought him back. And then I got my Doctor of Pharmacy degree from Ohio State. So kind of went away to Virginia, then came back home, and then Scott kind of followed me and got married when I was in pharmacy school. And I work at Giant Eagle, right in Heath, so just in the local community pharmacy, and found CrossFit after my kids were born. And it was just, it was a natural fit for me. I think it was something I'd been missing, and a lot of it was the community. I think when you go through that phase of having kids, you get pretty isolated when they're little. Going out is hard, right?
Especially going from being in college and that lifestyle.
Right.
And then you switch to that.
Right. And I kind of like sailed straight into all of those things. It was like, I was an athlete in high school, and then it's expected you go to college, and I went to college, and I got my undergrad degree in 3 years because I didn't want to be in school forever. So I pushed through that, and then the PharmD program is another 4, so 7 straight years of college. And then before I even graduated, I was walked across the stage, the pharmacy stage, to get my white coat. I was 8 weeks pregnant with Anna. I'd been married for 3 years at that point because I got married after my undergrad. So I kind of just did all the things like in the right order, right? Like you're supposed to go to college
like
and then you get a degree and everybody says. And I was married and we've been married for 3 years, which is that magical number when you should have, like all the things. Yeah. And I was pregnant and then I got the good job and then I had Anna and then 2.5 years later I had Alex and I just kind of did all those things. But I think we woke up one day and we were like, oh my gosh, like what has happened to the last how many years of our life, right? And we stumbled into a CrossFit gym and it was awesome because it was a community and it was an outlet and it kind of allowed me to reach back to those days when I was an athlete, when I was younger, because I was kind of just a natural, I just kind of had a natural talent I played soccer and I played basketball, but I had 3 knee surgeries, age 14, 15, and 16. And so I think I probably would have played soccer in college. And so I was pretty competitive, but it was taken away from me at a young age. And I had to kind of figure out what to do with that at, age 16, which is challenging. But after having my kids and doing all the things, I always stayed active. But walking into a CrossFit gym kind of felt like coming home because I was like, oh, that piece of me I lost, like now I can do this again. I can be competitive and I can have a sport again. And so it kind of felt like after losing myself through all of those little kid years, I was like, oh, there I am.
Which I'm surprised we don't have more young people like that. It kind of angers me that so many of them get this idea that it is the way it is, that CrossFit's only for, crazy people,
right.
Because I think a lot of them would love it coming from sports that they were very competitive in. And like most football players, and we see that here, and I'm sure you see it at Granville, they come back and they're just dreaming, and that's all they do is dream about the old days. Yeah. And when, they could come in and they could
have a piece of it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And still have fun.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and so we started at CrossFit Future. We weren't living out here back, when we first found CrossFit, we were living in Blacklick. So we had a Groupon and we went in on a group.
We did. But Chase went in on a buy one, get one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Free, I think, something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Scott's birthday. And I found a Groupon and I bought a Groupon and I was like, let's go to this. And we went, and the very first class was like an endurance class, and it was all these rounds of Cindy and running in between it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I found my people. I loved it. I thought it was great. But I think the mistake I made was rather than allowing it for me to find myself again, I walked in and people were like, who are you? Like, you're pretty fit. Like, you've got a really good endurance base. And I allowed other people to tell me what about it should be important to me. And I think that's kind of where I lost my way, but I had no idea.
Is that when you then went into
competition mode? I think within a week or two of being there, they were already like, there's this thing called the CrossFit Games, and we send a team to regionals, and we need another girl. And so by the time the Open rolled around, we started in July. When the Open's in February or March?
Oh, it was then.
Yeah, I think March, right? I remember them writing down a list, and it was like things you need to know how to do. That I was like, I don't even know what is a chest to bar. Like, I didn't know what the things were, but they're like, we don't really care how you achieve them. Just get it done. Like, get it done. We just you need to be able to clean 130 pounds. Like, nobody was really coaching me, appropriately at that time, because it just wasn't, it was like, we just need to get this done. Like, we need you to be on the team. And I kind of let everybody, I got swept up in that competitive spirit that I have. And I think I kind of let people tell me what I should care about too much.
Yeah,
for a really long time.
So, how long were you doing that? How long were you competing?
I enjoyed team. I went. We did qualify for regionals that year, and we went. And then we trained really hard the next year as a team. So we had the whole next year, and we were like, we're going back. And then the Open came around again, and we trained, and we did qualify a team, but I also qualified individually that year. So I was 15th in Central East.
You were?
And it was kind of like an accident. So I could have gone individually, but if I did, then my scores would get pulled and their team wouldn't go. And we'd been training as a team the whole year.
Oh, that's a hard decision.
So I went on team because I think deep down in my heart of hearts, that's probably one of the best decisions I ever made, is that I knew that I didn't really care. Like, not that I didn't care about qualifying. That was cool. Like, it's really cool to do well at something. But in my heart of hearts, the competition stuff, at the end of the day, even the team things, I didn't love it. It like still, like, it just would make me sick to my stomach. And it wasn't really at the end of the day. And I think what I was starting to figure out by that second year was, I don't know, this is what I love. This is what everyone expects me to do because I can. Mm-hmm. But do I really want to do that? Like, do I really care enough to do that? And right about that time, we sold our house in Blacklick and we moved out to Granville. Mm-hmm. And so we were, I think, like 2 points away from qualifying a team the third year. Wow. And we were already living in Granville, and I was driving back to do the open workouts at Future. And I remember talking to Ben Moran. I don't know if you know Ben. But
I've heard you talk about him.
He was just another member at Always Forward in Granville where we were going. And I remember telling him, gosh, I hope we don't qualify. Isn't that terrible?
Seriously?
Like, I don't want to qualify because I don't want to go. And I don't want to feel obligated to go. And I wanted to, I said, we used to, like,
kids were young.
The kids were little. Young. We were transitioning to this, new home and this new place. And I was like, I just want it to be fun again, because it had lost that. It was all about what was fun in the beginning became not fun because it felt like an obligation, and I needed to get better and better and better. And it just didn't feel fun anymore. Yeah. So I was really grateful when we didn't qualify, which sounds nuts.
No, I get that. I can't imagine that kind. I can't imagine that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Because just on our little opens that we do here, right? I'm nervous as crap.
You
I'm like, we do this.
Right. Exactly. So, and then I got out here, and then I had to have knee surgery, another one. So that was my fourth one.
That was before that was before the injury at.
Yeah.
Torsion.
It was, yeah. So I had a knee surgery, and I rehabbed from that. And that was really not, I didn't really have an injury. It's just that I tore ACL and cartilage when I was 14 years old. And so there was just some frayed junk in my knee that needed cleaned out. It was just one of those things that was inevitable. Yeah. So they went in and cleaned my knee out, and I kind of struggled coming back from that. It was really hard recovery. Like, you wouldn't think for this arthroscopic little procedure it would be a big deal, but it wasn't. Like, it just took me a long time to get back from that. But what I focused on, and that was when I started peeling away the layers and realizing how poor my movement was. And so because of the way that I learned initially, so I kind of started peeling back the layers. I'm like, well, if I'm gonna rebuild, let's move better. Let's focus on squatting properly. Let's get the mechanics right, because I knew that a lot of the things I could do just because I was strong, but not because I was moving well. Right. So that's when I started to, like, I almost like started over. Like, let's just start over and
when
move.
You were at Granville then.
Right. Let's like just when move I saw better. You. Yes, like right around that time.
Yeah, because I think you were just coming off of the knee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I probably was
working with you.
Yeah, so I was trying to just like rebuild and move better. I was trying to make CrossFit fun again. I wanted to let go of all that. I didn't even sign up for the Open that next year after because I needed to like disconnect from it, right? I just needed it to be. I wanted to figure out what was fun for me again. And then so then in the midst of that, then
you decide to own one.
Well, right. Yeah. So then we kind of, and this kind of like flips back to my job, right, as a pharmacist. And so I think I see a lot of really sick people, right? And I see them, I feel a little helpless, I think, in my position, because by the time you come to my counter, you're pretty sick, probably, right?
And are you even allowed? You're probably not even allowed to say anything, can you?
I mean, I can, right? Like, they come to me for advice, and I can
say?
Right, but how much interaction time do you have when there's 3 people lined up behind them? And
not much.
So like it's little tiny pieces. Kind of reminds me of coaching, right? Like, if I have a class of 12 people, can I make a huge impact with every single one of them every day? No. Right. Yeah. But I can have a small interaction with that person every single day. And then my hope is at the end of a year, we've made some progress, or we've built some trust. And so the pharmacy's kind of like that for me.
Has it gotten worse in the pharmacy? I mean, do you see way more people now than you did when you first started?
Yeah. You know what, here, and this is the one that kind of shocks me, right? So when I check a script, I look at their name and their date of birth.
Yeah.
And the part that is upsetting to me is to see that date of birth be so young for all these type 2 diabetic patients. I
knew you were going to say that.
And it is. And so it used to be, you know, so I've been working in retail pharmacy for 18 years now, because I started out as a pharmacy technician at Rite Aid when I was getting my undergraduate degree at Virginia Tech. And I have worked in a retail pharmacy of some sort, whether I worked for Kroger for a while and then now I'm with Giant Eagle, but for 18 years. And that is the biggest change. Blood pressure medications, diabetes medications, the age, it just keeps dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, that we're starting people younger and younger and younger and younger.
That's crazy.
It is insane. I mean, I have 20, you know, early 20s on blood pressure meds. I have early 20s, you know, mid 20s and late 20s on insulin already. Like their pancreas has given up at that point. Like that part is alarming. Mm-hmm. And I think that when I first got into CrossFit, it was very much like a sport for me and it was very competitive. But then when I kind of peeled back the layers and I got my level 1 and I started looking at CrossFit's like big message, and I started thinking about my job, and that's when we started thinking about, gosh, we kind of want to be involved in this. And I was tired of being just in sick care.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be on the side of wellness. I think our healthcare system is just broken. It's profoundly broken. And so I didn't want my story to be, at the end of the day, that I was just
a pill pusher.
Like
a pill pusher.
Like putting Band-Aids on, like, you know, wounds that need something bigger than a Band-Aid. My whole career, I wanted to try to at least make an impact on the well care side of things. And so
I talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
About the diabetes stuff, because it's bad. It's bad on Pat's side of the family.
Yeah. My family
Mine's not
too.
as bad. Well, I would say they are. I mean, all of them are.
No, my family too. I sometimes feel like
and they look at me like I'm crazy half the time.
Right, I know.
Do that with you?
Absolutely.
With the stuff I eat. You're eating that?
Right.
Well, yes, I am eating that.
I am, right. And so that's my other, people will come to me and they're starting a pill or they're taking an antibiotic for 2 weeks and they're so worried about the side effects of this itty bitty little pill that they're taking, and they might not have any of the side effects, right? And the benefit far outweighs that. But yet I look in their grocery cart and they've got donuts and a 2-liter Coke. Mm-hmm. And chips, and I'm like, why can we not talk about the side effects of that? Why is that not significant to you and this is? Like, that's a frustrating thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that our decision to kind of join forces with Chad really had to do with wanting to feel like we were doing something meaningful.
Yeah.
Right? Being a part of something that we really believed in and we think can change people's lives, because it changed our lives for the better in a million different ways. And so, you know, as I was going through these injuries and kind of, you know, finding myself again, and do I really want to just be dispensing prescriptions for the rest? Like, we just kind of had this moment of like, is this what we want forever? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so we met Chad. We were pretty involved at CrossFit Future. I coached there. Scott did member management. So my husband's a software engineer. So he did a lot of their member management over there. So we were also used to being involved in the management of the gym. And so that was something we were missing when we came out here. Mm-hmm. So I think it was just like a natural progression. We saw an opportunity. Chad needed some help, and so we kind of approached him. He didn't know us at all.
He didn't?
No.
Oh, I didn't.
I mean, he probably knew of us, like, through other people, but he didn't really know us. Mm-hmm. And he came over to our house, and we sat down on our porch, our back porch, and I was like, I think we want the same things. Like, we don't know you really well, and you don't know us, but I think we can help you. Like, I think together we can make this. We have the same vision of what we see, you know, where we see this going. And so that's kind of how we got together. How long has Torsion
been around now?
Oh, I hate to look at Scott, but I don't know. Do you know Scott? It was a couple years. I want to say it's been at least 5, maybe 6 now.
Come this way.
Oh, sorry.
We're trying to get in the camera too.
Sorry, I moved off camera. I think I want to say 5 or 6 years. I don't know the exact date that they started, but everybody kind of came out of that Always Forward group.
Yeah.
So like CrossFit Newark came out of that, and so did Torsion.
Right.
Like everybody started there in Granville.
So your big injury, that happened right before I came.
It did, yeah.
So
as everybody came in.
And I mean, hopefully people can hear, she's had all kinds of knee issues and surgeries, and then you'll explain your next one.
Yeah.
You can bounce back from that.
You can.
You can
absolutely.
flip it. It's not something that limits you. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that you're not done.
No.
Just because you have an injury doesn't mean you're done.
Absolutely.
You can come back from it no matter what it is. And
right.
that drives me insane.
Yes.
Totally drives me insane when people say, I mean, even my husband's a testament to it. He had back surgery.
Right.
He's running now.
Right, absolutely.
And going to CrossFit. So, it doesn't limit you.
No.
So tell everybody about your leg.
So we were kind of like, I feel like I was headed on the right path. Like, okay, these are the things that are important to me. This is what I want. Kind of coming back from things. But then I kind of got swept up in the competitive thing again for a second. That might be a little bit in my nature. But so I think I kind of lost sight for a second. It was like I refocused after my knee surgery. Like, this is what I want. This is what makes me happy. These are the things that are important to me. And then I kind of like slid a little bit again. I qualified. So I became a master, which I think it's funny in CrossFit when you're 30.
I love it.
When you're 35, you enter the masters division.
I'm sure you guys hate that, but me,
I think it's kind of funny.
At 51, I like hearing.
You're like,
I'm a master,
right? So, I was top 200 in the world. Like, I forget what number I ended up in the open. So then that means once you're a master, you don't go to regionals this all changed now, but you have extra workouts that you do that then determines who goes to the games. So again, I wasn't really trying, but I ended up top 200 in the world, and I got those extra workouts, and I moved all the way up to like 115 or something at the end of all of that, 115th in the world from like 35 to 39, which is cool, right? Like, it was super fun.
Yeah,
but then
big group.
Right. But then again, in my brain, I kind of like shifted, and I was like, ooh, maybe I should care. Because if I really cared, like next year, maybe I could get like higher, right?
I could totally see you doing that
right?
too.
But at the same time, like, we were trying to grow Torsion, and we were trying to focus on those things. And I think that I was putting my energy in the wrong spot. Yeah. Again, like, I was just kind of like shifting it and letting other people tell me, like, because you can, you should do this.
So did you get hurt from doing
so then I was
workouts?
I was training for the next year, right? For the open. And we went to CrossFit Newark, and we did a competition. And
I'm sure I was there.
Yeah. And it had fireman's carries where you had to run with your, do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So in retrospect, now I did not know this at the time, so I want to say that I didn't figure this out until I like looked back at the chain of events. But my partner was carrying me, and my hip was sitting on top of her shoulder, and she was running, and I was bouncing on it, and I remember that my hip was like burning, like on fire burning. And it was when she put me down, I was like numb in my hip, and then down my leg was numb, and I was like, gosh, what in the world? But I didn't think a whole lot of it. I was like, I probably just have a pinched nerve, something, whatever. A couple weeks later, like, that went away, but then I started having trouble like around my side and in my medial glute, and all these things were just like lit up surrounding my hip, and I was like, what is going on? But that was like in November. Just kept training. Really, I was training probably harder than I'd ever been training, probably overtraining, to be real honest. Probably wasn't taking care of my body very well. And the open came, but I was ready for the open, right? Like, I was like, I'm going to do this. And it was going very, very well. But in the middle of one of the open workouts, there was a max squat clean after a workout. Like, you did a workout and then you had to do a max lift. Oh. And my foot kind of caught externally rotated, and I caught a barbell, like a 205-pound barbell, down in the bottom of the squat, and my leg was out like this. Oh. And as soon as I caught it, this popped. Oh. Ugh. So my quad attachment of my the rectus femoris, that quad muscle attachment at my hip tore, like clean off. So, and I knew it. Like, I knew it was whatever it was, like, was traumatic enough that I called OSU Sports Medicine standing inside Torsion. Seriously? And went straight in. Yeah. So within 2 weeks, I had it reattached, which talk about the state of this.
That's just amazing.
The state of this country, though, the surgeon actually told me that if it were him, he would not reattach it. which makes me real sad. Right. Well, so it's a pretty rare injury. He'd only fixed it one other time. And then I think he'd seen another patient with it. And he was like, here's the deal. You have 4 quadricep muscles. So it'll just atrophy. You'll probably lose 30% strength in that leg. But, I mean, you can still be on the elliptical machine and do things functionally.
Why would anyone in their right mind not want to have a muscle reattached?
I don't know. And I was like, well, first of all, I think I was, 37? I was like, I'm 37 years old. I'm not 68. I'm not 72. I'm not. And I was like, 30% feels like a significant loss. I was like, I don't really care about my back squat, but I'd like to be able to get on and off the toilet when I'm 85.
Yes.
And but I was kind of saddened just in general that his blanket recommendation was like, nah, we just won't fix that. And I was like, if you fix it, what % recovery am I going to be at? And he was like, oh, like 98. And he's like, but it's a big deal. Like, it's a big surgery. You're going to be out of work. I was like, okay. Like, but you're telling me I'm going to lose 30% strength in that leg forever, and it's going to atrophy and not be functional at all. Or you can reattach it, and I'm going to be basically back to normal. And he was like, yeah, pretty much.
There's another problem with our society.
And that most people would just be like,
okay, I'll take the easy thing.
It's fine because I'm not moving anyway. Like, to me, that didn't suit my quality of life. Mm-hmm. I like being active. I didn't want to take any chance that I was not going to have enough strength to do the things that, and now that I am diving deeper into coaching and all that, thinking about the imbalances I may have created, like on the other side of my body or my hip or this knee, like from losing that amount of strength. Like, it's just nutty to me that they wouldn't be like immediately like, yes, let's fix it.
That is crazy.
Right.
And now you're probably, aren't you stronger than you were before that?
Yeah, which is kind of funny because I'm training way less than before, right? I do class. Yeah. And I might occasionally, do
just a little more.
I really
than
like,
the rest of
I
us.
like, well, no, I really don't much. Like, I like Durante core. Like, if you want to know what I do extra, it's usually some core work.
Yeah.
A lot of it's hip flexor work because when I was recovering from this hip surgery, I learned a lot of things to help work on my hip flexors. And I've never let that go because I want to make sure that I don't ever forget that this was compromised and that it may need a little extra attention forever. But again, I took the opportunity to like move better, right? Mm-hmm. And so mechanics is so important to me. I don't ever want anyone to be watching me work out as a coach and be like, oh my gosh, she doesn't even do this or open her hip, or she tells me to put my feet together when she does her, hollow body on, like when she's doing her pull-ups, but she doesn't even do it. Like, so it's made me like hone in on all of that. Mm-hmm. And funny, it's not funny, but I should know, I'm getting better. And so
because you're focusing
on
it
I'm focusing
yourself.
On the right things, right? Yep. But when I had the hip surgery, Kim, who has been on your podcast, another coach, she said, it's funny how the universe works. I love her little talks. Yep. Like sometimes she just puts it, because I was like sitting on the couch feeling sorry for myself, this big thing on my leg. And she was like, sometimes the universe will like tap you on the shoulder and you don't pay attention, or you kind of pay attention, but not enough. And then it'll kind of like smack you a little bit. And then you might pay attention. But again, maybe you didn't do it enough. She was like, and then sometimes it just gets tired of you and it pushes you down the stairs.
That totally sounds like Kim.
And I feel like my hip surgery was sort of like my push down that was my push down the stairs. It was like, okay, we're just gonna. You're not paying any. You kind of are like sort of paying attention to us, but not really. So we need you to get it together. We're gonna push you down the stairs. And so I think it helped me to focus on the right things, but also for Scott and I, that was also when we sold our house. Our dream house that we built.
Downsized.
We did. Yeah. So we did, like, it wasn't just like me at the gym, right? It kind of started with that, where it was sort of like me looking at my priorities being all in the wrong buckets. Like, I just had it all messed up. And I was like, gosh, this isn't why I didn't go into this for this. Like, I went into it because I want to help other people. And I want to help people not just get a muscle up, but I want to help get them off their diabetes meds. And I wanted to make Torsion a place where people felt comfortable coming in if they've never done anything for 20 years. And I'm not sure that we were 100% there. I think we were trying. Yeah. That was our vision, right? But we weren't quite there. And I don't think I was putting enough time into making it be that. And so I think for me, it was that. But then in our own personal life, I think we kind of looked around at what we were doing. And at the time I had taken a promotion that took me out of the pharmacies, and I was supporting Giant Eagle's clinical initiative. So it was a promotion, and so that's exciting, right? And that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah,
like you get
what everybody tells you
That's
to
what
do.
everybody tells you to do. You should take this job. And so I
We
took.
don't like to do what everybody tells us to do.
I know, and that's what I'm learning. So I took the job, but I looked around the rest of my life. I had a lot of time sitting in a chair with this like ice compression machine on my leg. And we kind of took a little critical look at everything. And at the time, Scott was working a job he hated, and it was consuming him. And when he came home, he had no time for the kids and no time for me and no time for himself. And I was working this promotion that took me away from patient care. So I wasn't getting to talk to patients anymore. And I'm a people person.
Me too.
And
Type A.
So I hated it. Like, and it took me a while. I was supposed to love it, and I was supposed to be honored that I got this job. But at the end of the day, I was miserable.
Really? How long did you do that?
Almost a year.
Really?
I think it was somewhere between like 9 months and a year. And I tried to give it, so when I first realized it, I tried to give it back, and they wouldn't let me.
What?
I was like, I really don't like this. This isn't for me. And they were
Were
like,
you, let me guess, you were too good at it. They didn't want you to
right.
do it.
Yeah. They were like, oh no, but you've made an impact in this store and this store. And I was like, yeah, it's cool, but I hate it.
Yeah.
And so they were like, just hang on for a couple more months. And then when I had my surgery, like, then I really was like, not doing it. Like, and
when
so
you probably have more time now for your kids too.
right. Absolutely. And so, and at the same time, kind of a spot came open at the Giant Eagle right out here in Heath. Cause I really didn't want to have to drive.
Yeah.
And there's only one Giant Eagle anywhere close.
Where were you?
I worked at Pickerington for 5 years. I was at Stelzer Road, so driving over to Easton for a while. But then I was supporting all of the stores with that one job. And when this job came open in Heath, I was like, listen, I know you told me I can't give it back, but now there's an opening like where I live. And this is what I need for my life. And so I like finally stood up for myself and gave away that job. And Scott quit his job he hated and took a job paying less because it made him happy. And he loves what he's doing. And we both were like, we built this beautiful home, right? It was our dream home. We custom built it.
Oh, geez.
We lived in it for 3 years. But the market was booming, and we were driving home from Florida that June, right after. Sorry, I had just had surgery in March. And the whole way home, we were just chatting about all these things, and we're so glad we changed our jobs, and we're getting this right. And I was like, do you ever think about selling the house? Because it's been like in the back of my brain. And he was like, all the time. And the market was booming. And so we got home, and we probably it was pretty quick, wasn't it, Scott? Yeah. I mean, within 2 days, we're like, let's just put it on the market. We didn't even have photos up for it yet. And then we ended up selling it in 48 hours for $9,000 over asking price.
What?
Got rid of it, got a smaller, more affordable home closer to the gym so that we could be there to support some of the things there that we wanted. We wanted to be able to travel more and spend more times with the kids. We don't want to spend money on things. We wanted to spend money on experiences. Yep. And to me, even though the house was we weren't like in over our heads or anything, but we were like, imagine what we could do, the vacations we could take if we just unloaded it. Yeah. Like why spend money on things and stuff?
Because that's what people tell us we need to do.
And so
we need to have the brand new, beautiful cars.
Yeah.
We need to have the big old house in the neighborhood.
Right. And so we did all the things, like we checked all the boxes, and then we woke up one day and we're like, why does this not feel right?
Right.
So kind of.
That was a big flip.
That was a big. People thought we were
Most people don't do that.
People thought we were a little crazy.
Did they really?
Oh my gosh, yes. 100% yes.
Oh,
I think people still think we're crazy. They're like, that house was so beautiful. Yeah, it was beautiful. But you know what I learned is that I didn't care that much. Yeah. Like I got in it and I was like, yeah, it's beautiful. I'm happier now.
I'm telling you, it gets worse as you get older. You get to that point of where like you don't care.
Right.
You don't give a crap what people think.
Well,
you do what makes you feel good, makes you feel happy.
Right.
Makes people around you happy.
Exactly.
That's what we try to focus on is really, trying to have that positive feeling, not, at home with our kids. Yeah. And we have our kids work with us. So it's a little bit different of a situation than most people. Yeah. But we chose the job that we chose so we could be in our kids' lives.
Right. Be there.
We don't have the big, huge house that, a lot of our friends and people we know have. we don't have, 2 or 3 cars in the driveway that are our own. We didn't have that. We chose not to, so we could raise the kids and do what we wanted.
And be there.
Pat was the coach.
Right.
And
people don't understand. I mean, I could make more money if I worked in the pharmacy more hours. I'm not full-time in the pharmacy on purpose because, one, I want to be present as a wife. I want to make sure that my marriage comes first. I want to make sure my kids come first. And because I feel like the work that we're doing at Torsion is what brings like actual meaningful joy into my life. And so now I do have to, I'm not saying that I don't like the pharmacy job, because I do, because I definitely get the opportunity to make an impact in people's lives. It's just on the side of healthcare I'm frustrated with right now.
Healthcare and food and, that whole industry. I mean, I know you guys try to eat good too, like we do.
Yeah. It's actually it's actually how we found CrossFit.
Oh, it was?
So we changed our diet first because we were just trying to get healthier. And so we found paleo. And so we started eating paleo. And if you follow any food bloggers.
Didn't we do that first? Did we do paleo first?
Yeah.
We've done it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say we've done them all too. Yeah. But like that was the first time that I was like, wow, like this has made such an impact in my life. And, and I think it was just getting all the processed food out of our diet. Yes. And that was really I'm not on like camp paleo or whatever. I don't care. I just think that what it did for us was got the processed food away, and we felt so good, and we were really healthy. But when you follow these food blogs, like we wanted new recipes, everybody was talking about CrossFit. And we're like, what is CrossFit? I was doing P90X in my basement. Like Tony Horton was my best friend, like it's kind of sad that, you need to have new friends when you talk about Tony, like he's your friend, because you work out with him in your basement every day. I needed a community. Yes. So we kind of found it through like food came first, and then we were like, what's CrossFit?
We did that way. Well, our first experience with CrossFit was at hockey. Actually, one of our one of the old coaches with my husband, he started messing with it. Or did you? He's outside of the screen here.
Yeah. The husbands are sitting off screen.
You messed with it. We remember looking at CrossFit, the website. Yeah. And we were looking at that website years ago when it was old and 10 years ago. Yeah. And a coach at hockey, he used a lot of the same principles. Yeah. Most people thought he was crazy.
Well, and I think there is still a lot of that.
But Pat and I kind of, he also, again, has that same mentality that we all have of, jumping into things and starting things and not being afraid and flipping. Scott was the same way.
Yeah.
And he just used a lot of that stuff, and we connected with him. Yeah. And we started doing that too, but the boys were the ones that got into it first for us. And then, of course, Chase.
They drag you in.
He'd come down. Well, down here, it was more of, back then, it was for hockey. And so we had hockey nets up and stuff, but then we had some weights down here, and I remember Chase coming home, here, try this, do this.
Yeah.
So that's how we got started. But it was crazy.
Yeah, I think I have this vision that someday, and this is something that we talk about with Derek all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've always had, and when we sat down the very first time with Chad and we said we wanted to be a part of this, I was like, this is going to sound nuts, but I'm just going to
throw it out
there. I was like, what I would really like to see someday is an integrated wellness facility that has the CrossFit gym, your primary care doctor, your chiropractor, massage therapist, a dietitian, physical therapy, like all on site, right? Like I would love nothing more than you to be able to see your primary care doctor and then to be able to plug you into the things that will actually make you well, as opposed to waiting to see you when you're sick,
right?
And handing you a pill. Right. I'm like the pharmacist that, like, Derek laughs at me all the time. He's like the pharmacist that talks people out of their medicine.
You are.
But I would love nothing more than to be so bored at the pharmacy and see everyone at the gym. Yeah. Like that would be amazing. But so Derek's a big thinker too. So we kind of come together sometimes talking about what we dream about in the future.
We've talked about that. And the funny thing is we kind of add, we're like, and put a brewery on there too.
we love craft beer.
Right. So that's what we would like.
Right.
Like, it would be fun to have a CrossFit gym, and Derek in there, and then a brewery, and maybe a coffee shop.
A coffee shop, yes. Oh my gosh. I think sometimes about how coffee shack's right next to the old Torsion location. Can you imagine how much coffee we would have consumed?
Actually, he would do really well because every single person would be in there.
I know, but we would probably all need blood pressure medications because we'd be drinking way too much caffeine.
We would. We definitely would.
Well, what? Terrible.
What would you say, I guess, in terms of coaching, what has been your most memorable thing that you've done? Your most memorable flip for somebody else? I mean,
Scott and I were talking about that, and I don't know that I have one. And this is kind of a common theme in both of my jobs because I feel like coaching is about not necessarily these big glamorous wins.
Right.
It's about the day-to-day little itty-bitty things. It's about the consistency. It's about, over the course of a year, seeing somebody go from here to here, right? So I don't know that I have this one big, overriding answer. And in the pharmacy, it's kind of the same thing. It is hard to get people to trust you, right? To understand that you are there for them. And a lot of what we do in pharmacy, people don't even see, right? Like your prescription might have been called in by the doctor, and before you ever come to get it, I know that it interacted with something or the dose didn't make any sense at all for you. And I call.
Does that happen a lot?
Oh, you'd be shocked. I call, I intervene, I get it changed. Oh my God. All before, a lot of times people don't even know that interaction is happening. And I guess that's kind of that's our fault as pharmacists that we don't maybe, but I don't want to undermine a physician either. So when those errors are happening, I'm not going to be like, well, you know what your doctor did.
Right.
But I think the fact that people don't see that clinical side of what we do,
I had no idea.
I think they kind of, and they don't realize how much education we actually have. That I have a doctoral level degree, like a doctor of pharmacy. I think it takes a long time to earn someone's trust, and it takes a couple situations or instances where you kind of go above and beyond to help them with something, even if it's small, where those little things add up over time. And coaching, to me, I find a lot of parallels. That
I bet
it's really hard. It's hard to get somebody to trust you if they've been told something else their whole life.
Oh yeah. And
it's hard to get somebody to move a different way if they've been taught or shown to do something differently, or it's uncomfortable, or it's hard. People don't want to work on hard things.
Yeah.
And pharmacy's the same way. If I talk to somebody, they're like, I really don't want to be on this blood pressure medicine, or I really want to reduce my insulin intake. Like, it's about making small little itty bitty changes. Well, how about you don't drink your calories? Like, let's not drink one small thing, and then let's talk about it. Or I have somebody coming in getting a medication for smoking cessation, and I used to, I've training in smoking cessation. So I used to run classes at Giant Eagle for the employees who wanted to quit.
Oh,
and so I would sit down with them and I would run these classes as a group. But it's about behavior changes and about itty bitty ones.
Isn't that what you find in CrossFit too?
It's exactly the same. And so I feel like I don't have this one big, this is my most memorable thing. I think it's the day-to-day things. It's the itty bitty things.
Is your pharmacy part of it, you see and can talk to us about this, is you see what happens when you don't do the CrossFit or whatever. I don't care what it is.
Me either. And that's what I always tell people. They're like, oh, CrossFit, I could never do that. It's so dangerous. I'm like, I don't care what you do, but move your body.
Dangerous.
Oh, I know.
Well, I guess at some gyms. We've been reading. Lately there have been masters on the cross. Do you follow the CrossFit masters?
Yeah.
There have been people talking about that. There was just one recently of a guy that he went into one, and it was dangerous.
I think there's just a lack of coaching in a lot of places. If you travel and drop in, we used to go to Hilton Head every year, and we would drop into this one gym, and there were seminar staff that owned and ran this gym.
Oh, nice.
And it was unbelievable.
But it was great.
It was wonderful, but I think it was one of the best experiences we ever had because we're like, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be. It's about the coaching. That's what you pay us for.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be coached, then, pay for street parking and do it in your garage. If you don't find the coaching valuable, that's fine. Go do it somewhere else, where nobody's gonna
$10 a month.
Gonna watch you. But that's how people are like, why is it so expensive? Because we take the time to actually like to coach you to make you better. So
it's all relative.
Yeah, it is.
It cracks me up when people.
But
say
yeah,
it's
I mean,
expensive.
people are. There's actually Julie Fouché has a
love
podcast.
hers, yes.
So the one that came out, I want to say today on Pursuing Health, she's talking to like a functional it's almost like a physical therapist. I forget the name of what it is, but she was talking about that whole concept of it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's not dangerous. She was like, if you really look, it's functional, and it's about reframing people's, there's some bad gyms that have given us a bad rap, and and I think it's about
that's what everybody
teaching,
connects to, is that
teaching people that's not the case, and I think there's also there's going to be injuries. Yes, I had
everything we
an
do.
injury, but like this. So in this podcast today with Julie Fouché, what the doctor said, I would rather treat, an injury from exercise than treat you for your diabetes or your people just like you're not going to die from an orthopedic injury, but you are going to die from heart disease and diabetes and strokes. Right. And so I think people are missing the boat when they're like, oh, it's so dangerous. And sitting on your couch is more dangerous.
Right. And they talk about the cost, and it's like, okay, but you're going to spend all that money on that medicine.
Right.
Or, you go, let's say, maybe cut out going out to eat twice a week.
It's priorities, right?
Yeah.
You just have to budget, and you choose the things that are important to you, and you prioritize the things that are important to you. There's always a way. Absolutely.
I mean, it is I will be the first to say that it is expensive to eat healthy, which is 100%. Unfortunate. I mean, it should be easy. Oh, it should be the other way around.
Yeah, if only we all could just have our own farm and.
Everybody always asks me, my family, well, why don't you have a great big backyard. You could have a garden.
With what time? Right? With what time? All your time to garden. Some days I'm not sure what day of the week it is.
You've never seen me try to keep a plant alive. I don't.
Not your specialty.
No, I did not. My mom is very good at that. My sisters, all of them, they're all good at it. I got none of it.
Yeah.
I can keep a Christmas tree alive.
Well, that's good.
But that's about it. And that's a short period of time.
I'm pretty good with like the outdoor plants, but the indoor plants, I would have to agree. I've never really had a successful indoor plant experience.
Unless they're plastic. Right. I can do that. Well, what are your guys' long-term goals? What are your long-term? Short and long.
Short and long. Okay. So I think from a family perspective, just like Scott and I and our family, I think it's just to have more experiences, as many as we can cram in while we have the kids.
You guys have started going out
and
west
our grass
and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to Grand Cayman for spring break.
I've been there.
We have Scott and I have been, but we've never had the kids with us, so we're going to take them. We're going to the Grand Tetons in Yellowstone in June. And then I'm in the middle of scheduling vacations. As a pharmacist, you have to pick your vacations like a year and a half in advance. It's ridiculous.
That would drive me.
So I'm working on that right now. I don't know where we're going to go next, but our goal as a family is to not go to the same place twice, so that we're always seeing something new and different. So I think that's
I see you, Blake.
So that's what we used to do, is go to Florida every year, Hilton Head every year. And I finally told my parents, I was like, nope. We're gonna have experiences. We're gonna go different places. We're gonna do different things and make new memories. And
Blake, I'm gonna go watch you in July, so it'll be out west.
So I think from a family perspective, that's my goal. I think from the gym and professionally, I really hope that we can somehow continue to merge services with Derek.
Yeah.
And provide more wellness care. I think he shares that same like grand vision of what we can achieve if we can kind of like bring the right medical staff together with the right mindset to really just try to flip this healthcare system on its head, because I think it's going to take the people standing up and being like, this isn't okay.
Right.
Like this is, I demand better care, right? I demand more, and standing up for themselves. And so I would like to see us be able to continue to have those talks and go somewhere with that. And I would really love us to have like a really robust nutrition program at the gym. Yes. It's just something I physically don't have time to run without sacrificing
even more.
And I can't, and I hard lines with my husband and my kids. And so as much as I would love to run that, and I think I could very well run that, I need more time and more hours. It's great that we have some new coaches coming on board, because there's always the possibility, if I'm coaching less, that
that you can do
that I can do more of that, but I also don't want to coach too much less because I like that.
I like you coaching
I like
too.
it, and I don't want to pull away too far from that and feel like I'm disconnecting from the community to do something else. So it's this big balancing act of figuring out, and maybe I'll
just don't give up 9 a.m.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll always be there. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be
You can
there.
give up 5,
Yeah.
but don't give up 9.
Kim and I, we have a fun thing going at 9. I think
fun.
it is really. We have a good
fun
time
all the time. I like
Yes.
to go to all the different classes.
I do too. I do too,
fun
and
to
I
do
work
that.
out early sometimes. So I get the boys. I get Craig, and I get Scott will coach me sometimes.
Yeah, I
So.
bet that's fun.
I listen now. I probably used to not listen as well, but now I'm a very what? I know. I definitely used to get mad at him.
Can you imagine us? I cannot imagine.
But now I'm like I'm very good about it because mechanics, right?
Yeah.
Mechanics first, and I don't. And I'm always asking Kim, like, am I shifting? I don't want to have any compensation from this hip or this knee or all the things.
I was so glad when you were in last week and helped me with the squatting.
Yeah, when I was just sitting there watching.
Yeah, but it was
creepily
nice.
taking a video of you being like, all right.
It was nice. I liked it.
Yeah.
No, I did. It helped.
Well, I want to make sure that people keep
40 squats.
Yes,
I did.
right.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Oh my God. I was
That's
so
okay. We
mad.
forgive you.
I got done and I'm like, I looked at Hannah. Denise is still going.
Like, why is she
I'm
still
like,
going?
Shit, it was 50, not 40. And I was already at that point of I already thought I was done. I cannot get back up and do more.
I'm just done with it.
I was
That's still a pretty good workout.
yeah,
so I wouldn't worry about it.
But I did better because of the stuff that you helped me with.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're very welcome.
You and Kim, thank you.
So just figuring out how to, fit stuff in the day. But I think just driving that wellness initiative and really, I want to find more ways for us to find the people who are not comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, I think the barrier is still too great for starting CrossFit. I think people are still too intimidated by it, and they shouldn't be. And so any creative way that we can dream up to get people in the doors, doing it, because really, like, back in the day when it started, it was just where the fit people went to get fitter, right? Like, it was just the next thing. And that's cool. But I think where the impact really is, and where my heart is from my medical background, is seeing the people who are sick, who really need it. Yeah. But the hard part is, how do you get them in the door, and then how do you keep them inside the walls without them feeling too self-conscious or feeling like they don't fit in or intimidated. And I don't know that we have all the answers for that by any stretch of the imagination. But so I think long-term goals would be, how do we lower that barrier even more so that we get people comfortable coming through the doors?
There are ways.
Yes. So
we know of ways. So we already talked about podcasts. You like Julie Fouché. Who else?
I do like Julie Fouché. I listen to Ben Bergeron's Chasing Excellence. I like some of it, and some of it I'm like, so I'm kind of like a mixed bag on that. But I do like a lot of the principles of that. I like Street Parking, the podcast, when Miranda comes on and she'll talk about things. But I love how the whole more than nothing concept. I think we get caught up too much in, I have to do all of the things, and then we do none of the things, because that's overwhelming. Yeah. Versus, maybe today all I can do is this, but that's better than nothing. And then if I do that, and then I do it again the next day, and then the next day, and the next day, that's what creates change. And so I love her podcast because she talks about those kinds of concepts. And then when I don't want to think about fitness and health and the gym or business, I listen to Radiolab. Because they're phenomenal storytellers, and sometimes I just want to turn my brain off. And the topics are all over the place.
Have you heard of them, Pat?
Radiolab. Fantastic little podcast, good little storytellers. The topics are everywhere, but sometimes I just need to turn my brain off and not.
I get that.
Not be thinking about business and coaching. That wakes me up. Things. Sometimes I just need that.
That wakes me up at like 4:00 in the morning.
Radiolab did a 5-part series on Dolly Parton, and it was called Dolly Parton's America. It was phenomenal. Really phenomenal. Yeah, you should listen to it.
Interviewing people.
Like diving into her life, like Like, talk about going down rabbit holes. But all these really interesting things that I definitely didn't know about Dolly Parton, and I certainly didn't think I would enjoy it. But we were driving home from somewhere.
We love listening to podcasts.
And we like Radio Lab, and they're like, we're going to have this new Dolly Parton series. And so the very first episode was up, and so we listened to it, and I was hooked. And then every Tuesday I was really excited because a new one would come out. It's time to listen about Dolly.
We always
completely out of character, but
Rich Froning.
Oh, you know what? I don't listen to that. What's his podcast called?
What was that one?
Froning and Friends. Yeah. Okay. I'll have to dive into that,
we used to love listening to that one. That one was funny.
Scott makes me listen to more intellectual podcasts sometimes. That I sometimes am like, sometimes I love, and sometimes I'm like, ugh. There's a really good relationship one called Where Should We Begin? And it's a relationship therapist, and she takes couples who are having relationship problems, and they kind of like, she kind of picks them apart and talks about it. And it's so intriguing because you'll read the title and you'll be like, well, there's nothing about that I will relate to.
Yeah. And
then you listen and you're like, there's always some little tidbit of something that you can take away.
Really?
And so that's one that we listen to. Hidden Brain is another really good one that kind of dives into more intellectual stuff. Scott stuff. He's too smart for me.
That'll go away. Pat listens to more so business things like that.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah.
Way more than what I do. I mean, the one I like is Screw the 9 to 5s.
Yeah.
That tells you anything about me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
All right. The last question that I always ask everybody is, if you could be in your flip-flops and you click your feet. Yeah, just like in the magic slippers.
Yeah.
Where would you go and why?
That's a great question. So as much as I love to explore and travel and go places, there's no place like home, which I know sounds crazy.
What?
But like, I really like being at home, and like, so I want to go and do the things, but I'm always just as excited to come home. So I'm not sure that there's any one particular place. Scott and I definitely want to have some kind of home, whether it's a tiny home or a little log cabin or something, in a mountain near water somewhere. I'm more of a mountain girl than a beach girl. So where I can like hike and bike and swim and kayak and
look at the boys
do the things. And we talk about like, we want to have a tiny home. Like, like a mobile tiny home, so that I can put it somewhere, hang out there for a while, and then move it someplace else.
You did know Tommy had a tiny home, didn't you?
No.
You didn't know they were on the TV show.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
I didn't even know that. Totally.
Yes.
Missed it. But we talk about that. Like, I think with kids, no, like not now, but I mean, they're going to grow up and move out of my house at some point. And so I think, now would it be our primary residence? I don't know, but I would like to have a place.
A lot of cool ones now.
They really do. And so I think we just want to make sure we do explore this world, but I need my home to be there too.
That would be good.
I really like my house. So, but definitely a mountain girl. So like, there are definitely, if I had to choose, I like the beach. The beach is great, but
I would like to have a beach home.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to have a mountain home.
Yeah. I get tired of the beach. There's not enough to do. Like, for a week, it's fine. But then I'm like, okay, good. That's fine. We'll go home now. I know that's crazy, but I think I get when we went to the lake last summer, though, that to me was busier. Like, there was more to do, and we loved that. We got up every morning super early, and we hopped in the kayaks before anybody else was awake, and there was nobody on the lake, and we would just kind of like explore, and it was so fun. I was like, this is how we need to retire.
Yeah.
So
I definitely want to travel.
Yeah. A lot of places we want to go. A lot of places. Yep, that was a huge part of the selling of the house. Was
and here in just the United States, there's
so
much.
Well, that was one of the gifts I got Scott for Christmas this year, was this huge United States map, and it has a spot for a photo, and there's an app that you send that cuts it to be the shape of the state.
Oh, cool!
So then everywhere we go together as a family, we'll go have that photo cut and then put it onto the map, so that.
That's cool.
So it gives us kind of goals. So once we start to fill the map up, then we're like, oh, we haven't been there. We're going to find something cool to do.
Yeah, I'd love to do
in
the
that
national
state.
Parks.
Yes. Yeah. Rocky Mountain National Park was one Scott and I did a year and a half ago. We stayed in Estes Park right outside the gates. Oh my gosh.
Did you do Glacier
It was
yet?
amazing. Amazing.
Have you done
No.
Glacier? That's what it wasn't that your favorite, Chase?
Yeah.
Glacier. I'd like to see that someday.
Yeah, definitely. We have a list, but we're kind of checking them off. We're doing Grand Tetons and Yellowstone in June.
That's
so
good.
that'll be something. We want to take the kids rafting on the Snake River. And
Rafting.
yes.
I don't know. That's one of those things I don't know if I could do.
Yeah, you
could.
could.
I don't know.
But here's the thing, you don't have to get into these crazy rapids. They have like ones that are like the ones we'll take the kids on are probably they're kid friendly. Like class 2 and 3 rapids. They're not going to have the big ones. Like Scott got on the New River in West Virginia. Like that can get really rough sometimes. He lost his keys to his car in the river.
Oh, nice. Nice. So how did you, what'd you do?
We stood freezing in wet clothes for about 5 hours until we managed to find somebody on a Sunday night in West Virginia that could unlock our car for us.
And it was before like all these cell phones and we had just started dating and I thought he died because he was just missing, like poof, like nowhere to be found.
Cow.
And like they were supposed to have been back and
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything from them. They just lost their keys in the river, you know.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else that
I don't think so.
well, how do people, if people are interested in CrossFit or just even wanting to find out more, I mean, they know that you have a health and wellness background.
Yeah.
How can people get in touch with you?
Our website, CrossFitTorsion.com, is the best way. And we have if you just click the Get Started link, fill that out, it actually sends an email directly to Chad and I. And I usually follow up on the female leads and Chad follows up on the male leads. And that's simply so that we don't have to talk about who's following up on, because it used to be like,
that's a good idea.
do you have this one? Do I have and it was this coordination thing. And so we kind of just made it be that way. And I think also just because sometimes when we sit down, we do what we call a no sweat intro where we sit down with people and we talk. We talk to them about what their goals are. We talk to them about why they contacted us. We talked to them, and I don't even like the term goals so much. We were listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago where they said, don't ask people what their goals are. Ask them what problem they're trying to solve. And
That's good.
Loved that.
Mm-hmm.
But that conversation really is just kind of diving into the why they walked through the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think that's important because if I know the answer to that, it makes me easier to coach you, right? And I think that's the thing that's really unique about Torsion is that everybody's there for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fantastic. And I think that we can support all of the reasons.
Right.
It's just about teasing out what that is.
Yep.
So,
you guys are good at that. You're really good at that. Well, thanks so much
Thank you
for
having
being
me
on episode 9.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It
This
was
was
fun. It was a lot of fun.
It should be the episode 10.
I think so.
Yeah.
I already thought about that.
Yeah.
Derek, you're
Yes.
next.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you later. Bye.